As a kid, I just knew her as Mom, but she had this incredible career that I didn't really know about it until I was older. She ended up on the Inspector General's team with the Air Force, and so she would travel a lot. But Mom was always her number one duty, so I never felt like she was gone all the time. But then I later realized she had this huge, incredible career. She became a colonel in the Air Force, which was very rare for women at the time. And then to be able to be on the Inspector General's team, she would go around and inspect hospitals all over the country. So it was really incredible.
Well, when I first graduated, I worked just as a regular floor nurse. And as I had family, I began to work part-time and just worked on the floor. Then intensive care became a thing, which didn't used to be, or recovery room. And then I worked quite a bit in their intensive care unit, where they were first starting to do open heart surgery. They built Cottonwood Hospital, so I went out there and worked in their intensive care unit. And we provided recovery room as well. Then I began to work in recovery room. Then I began to work in the OR, and I became one of the supervisors in the OR. I left there and went to the LDS hospital outpatient. They now were doing outpatient surgery. And then Cottonwood Hospital opened a surgical center. So I moved back out there and worked there till I retired. So all in all, I worked 48 years in nursing.
I think me being a nurse influenced my kids, and then it trickled on down to all of them.
She would walk into a room and just everyone felt like she was their best friend. She just knew how to make everyone just feel so at ease and comfortable. And she was always giving. That's one thing that I always remember about her, is she was always taking meals to people. She was always serving. And I think her nursing career, that love of just helping mankind, was just who she was.
People were always coming to me and asking me questions about advice or different things, and it made me feel great to be elevated to that degree that they wanted advice from me.
I loved it, really did. Now I would be scared to death because everything's changed. One thing that we learned is totally out of the picture now.
I think we were a close class because we lived in the nurses' home, and that was different than they do now. And
we were like sisters. We lived together. We lived together at the nursing home at LD. So we ate together, slept together, studied together, and we had to take classes at the Y. They'd bring a bus up and take us down to the Y, to the classes. And then sometimes the professor would be brought up here, and we'd meet in the classroom up here. So even in our nursing program, I've been down there now and seen what they have there, mannequins that they have in their nursing lab. We didn't have any of that. We practiced on each other. We practiced putting tubes down our throat. We practiced starting IVs, giving shots on ourselves and each other.
But nursing was really quite fun, but different. We did what aides do now. They wouldn't let us do many things. They'd say no. And back then it was you did what the doctor said, no matter what, whether you agreed or disagreed.
The gloves were not disposable. They all had to be washed and flipped inside and out and powdered, and the syringes washed and sterilized. The needles all sharpened. The same with the scalpels for the surgery. A lot of equipment different.
I've always thought about us in that first class as like comparing eras of time. We were like Florence Nightingale compared to how it is now. The more I worked, as time went on, I could see we were, we just only hit the surface of nursing.
And for us to wear a cap, when you graduate, you get to put the black stripe on it. I still have my cap, actually. Paper would hold that there, and then we had a black velvet ribbon that glued across the top. That's pretty sad. Long time. It's a little yellowed. And I know it's nice they don't wear them anymore because they were kind of in the way a lot of times you're trying to do stuff.
Oh, we got in trouble all the time.
Just silly little things happened. They did things like when we were in the LDS hospital and we lived, there in the house, if they decided they needed to have another class or something, that there was a room upstairs, and so they would just say, well, in a half an hour, meet up there, we're doing this. And some of the people were tired, and I remember we'd just go up there, and since most of them were all, at that time, girls, and the instructor was girls, I remember one of the classmates just went up in her slip, Did anyone tell you about Ruth Kennington? She used to swear. It was just normal. Where you come from, this is what happens. Anyway, so they got after her. You just can't do that. Well, let me tell you, so she really tried hard and she didn't swear. It was not obnoxious or anything, just occasionally a swear word here and there. And finally someone said, oh, just go and be yourself. She was a great person. I can't think of anyone in the class that wasn't really great. At the state hospital, I think it was Mary Alice.
It snowed and she went out and made one of those fox and geese thing that you play in the snow, a big circle thing. Well,
they called and said, we think you've got a patient that's escaped, and
they came after her. It was funny, and then
we hurried and let her in the back door, and just silly things that we would do.
This one day up to the hospital, we were going somewhere, and I had this one that was tried to get away, and boy, I was trying to stop her, and she kicked me several times, and they said, don't ever stop him like that, just let him go. So when we had our class and talked about different things after that experience, this woman, her name was Miss Bloom, she was one of the instructors, and she was a heavy busted person and tall and just a robust type of person, and she said she wanted to demonstrate give us a few little ideas if we had to, if a patient was after us. So she asked for a volunteer to go up and help her, so one in the class went up there, and she was about as tall as Miss Bloom because they were both tall, and so she gets ready, she's going to take Carol down, and Carol all of a sudden had Miss Bloom down. It was just, we just couldn't get over it after. It was quite a funny thing.
We used to do some fun things with patients. I remember one patient at the LDS hospital had a birthday, so we baked a cake and snuck it in. Silly little things. He was terminal, and so it was just a short time before he died, but it was kind of a little out of the box. It wasn't just nursing. It was fun to be part of the first graduating class.
A lot of things that they did talk about as the whole person, and one of the things we did talk about was when we do patient assessments, we had to assess the person's emotional and spiritual state and see what you could do to help heal the whole person. Yeah, that was a beginning thing. However, we didn't know that that was a beginning thing until we talked to some of the others. Realized that wasn't part of their program. Because of the spiritual aspect and the camaraderie that we had experienced in sharing those things, which I think added to not only my ability to give nursing care, but to me as an individual, to give me more confidence and to improve my own personal life. And that's how I looked at things.
She always loved BYU. She was their biggest fan. Well, I know if she were alive today to see it as it is now, she would be absolutely thrilled, knowing that that's what gave her a platform to really rise above and give her confidence. She had a difficult childhood, and as a result, I think going to BYU and fulfilling her dreams and being that first graduating class really launched her into an incredible life.
I think nursing is a way of life, and I think it gave me a confidence that I probably wouldn't have had otherwise. I just think that nursing is the way to help you become a better person all the way around. That did for me, I think.